Like, what's happening in Syria, guys? Like, I've been on this subreddit right now. I'm on this subreddit right now. I'm in the Syrian Civil War subreddit, and I'm in the Syria subreddit. So the difference between the Syrian Civil War subreddit and the Syria subreddit is that the Syrian Civil War subreddit only has the Civil War stuff in there, like violence, sectarian violence, ethnic tensions, blah blah blah. Sectarianism is mostly Shia versus Sunni, or Alawites versus Sunni, or Christian versus Sunni, or Druze versus Sunni. It's just a fucking. It's like Somalia, but better. Not as bad as Somalia. Not as bad, because we don't have sectarian violence. We don't have Shia versus Sunni. The country is completely 100% Sunni. The only problem we have is that we have problems with tribal tensions, right? But let's leave Somalia for a side, man. We're always fighting. We're always at war. We're always in a civil war. Somalia is different, man. Forget Somalia, bro. Let's talk about Syria right now. Now, I'm seeing a lot of Alawites being killed by. I don't know much about Syria. Like, I know a little bit. I've been following it a little bit. I'm not Syrian. I don't. I don't expect Syrians to give a fuck about what I think about, but I think what's happening over there is truly tragic. Like, hundreds of civilians being killed, and pro-Assadist. Apparently, there's pro-Assadist factions, sleeper cells, and stuff like that, ambushing government convoys. They're ambushing checkpoints. They're attacking buildings. They're attacking everything. Like, they're just blowing everything up. And it's apparently near the coastal towns, like cities of Latakia. Apparently, they're attacking in those areas. Like, they were former Assad strongholds, apparently, as well. That's what I'm reading. And what's my take on that? I think apparently the former regime, the Assadist regime, when it fell, Ahmed al-Shara, he said, the new president of Syria, he said that there will be amnesty for all former members of the old regime, like the police officers, the military, all of those people that were working with Assad. There's going to be amnesty for you. If you give up your weapons and you surrender them to the Syrian National Army. Isn't it funny how the Syrian National Army and the Somali National Army is the same? It's SNA in Syria and SNA in Somalia as well, by the way. Which is interesting. I never really thought about that. But so basically, Ahmed al-Shara, the new president of Syria, he basically said that there's amnesty for all people that surrender their weapons and gave up the old regime. So a lot of people did that. Some people were killed and they were punished for that. There's a lot of traffic outside. But then I just don't understand why they're having sectarian violence right now. I thought there was a new president. Assad's gone. But the thing is, I've been reading that a lot of Alawites, they benefited from the former regime more than the Sunnis did. The Sunnis were basically looked at as trash, people that don't deserve anything, and they were looked at as less than Alawites. Alawites were put in a better social position. They got the better jobs, the better everything, you know. So there's a lot of tension in the air because of that. And the people want revenge for how many Sunnis were killed during the time of Assad. Like, Assad would just kill everybody in an area and then just call them all terrorists, right? And he would employ a lot of Alawites in his military, give them high positions, high jobs, high positions in the military, high positions in politics, and the rest of society was kind of freezed out. So he would basically use them against you. Like, he was very good at sectarianism, Assad. How do you think he stayed in power for so long? Obviously, the Iranians and the Russians were backing him up. But I feel like it's a mess, like a complete mess. You know, I watched his speech and I listened to a bit of his interviews, Ahmed al-Shara. I thought he would be a very moderate leader, a very nice leader that's, you know, inclusive and just very serious and knows what he has to do and has the interests of his people at heart. But now that I'm kind of looking at him a bit more, he seems like a terrorist, to be honest. Al-Qaeda. He used to be part of Al-Qaeda. That's also another fact. Apparently, the previous name of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham was Jabhat al-Nusra. I listened to a few audiobooks on ISIS, but apparently, I need to make sure I get this right. But apparently Baghdadi, who was the leader of ISIS, he sent Jolani over to Syria to start the branch there, to start a new branch of ISIS there. And then Jolani broke off from the organization and he joined and he made a new one called Jabhat al-Nusra Front. So then he rebranded the name to Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Just rebranded the name. Those are all former terrorists and Al-Qaeda members, and he had a 10 million bounty on his head. So I'm just thinking, like, how can a person with a past like this be forgiven? I mean, he changed his name from Jolani to Ahmed al-Shara. But what was the goal? The goal was to defeat Assad. Okay, they defeated Assad. He's gone. He's in Moscow. Now what? He's the president of Syria. He's the president of what, though? Because there's the Syrian Democratic Forces in the north, right? They're next to the border with, I believe, what am I messing up? With Iraq, right? But the SDF controls what? 30% of the country, 40% of the country. Then there's the Druze in the south, southeast. And then there's Israel in the south. That's encroaching on more territory past the Golan Heights. My God, that guy has so many problems. And then he doesn't have a clean past either. He has a very, very murky past, to say the least. I don't know. How many Alawites were killed in the Latakia? Hundreds. Maybe there's thousands killed by the pro-security forces of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Sorry. Yes, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. I thought I said that Jabhat al-Nusra first. But how could you trust someone like that? He has a background of a terrorist. Well, he was fighting the Americans in Iraq for Al-Qaeda during the Iraq War, which would make him a Mujahideen fighter, right? He was Mujahid. He was fighting against the Americans, which invaded Iraq under the pretext of 9/11, right? Which wasn't the case. The Iraqis didn't have chemical weapons. They did have chemical weapons, but they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. So it was all a lie, just like Putin said in his special military operation address. Bullshit. There was no mad weapons of mass destruction. The invasion was just a pure farce. Why did they invade Iraq, by the way? I don't know. For oil, I guess. For oil, right? That's the only reason I can really think of that makes sense. But yeah, moving on to Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. How many Alawites are being killed? My God. How many videos have I seen on Reddit of a child being executed summarily in the streets? There was another guy that got killed in a field. He got executed. He got his head blown off in the field, like next to a fucking. My God, it was so fucking brutal, man. Holy shit. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, like, what the hell? They're just killing people, summarily executing them in the street, in the fields, anywhere. Like, no court, no trial, nothing. It's a complete mess, man. How do you build a modern society, a modern state, with sectarian killings and violence and revenge killings? And I understand you guys are angry. I don't really understand the killings of children, but I understand wanting to have revenge against the Assadists, the regime's gangs that were torturing and killing people in Sednaya prison. You saw the prisons. I saw the videos about Sednaya prison. I saw the videos of the barbarism of the Assad regime. But let's take a step back for a second and look at the bigger picture, right? By doing the same thing that Assad was doing, you're basically saying you're the same as Assad, man. Bashar al-Assad. He was killing civilians. You're killing civilians. What makes you different than him? Which is the question Ahmed al-Shara should be asking himself. What makes you different than Assad, bro? You're killing civilians. You're summarily executing. Well, he's not doing it, but he's responsible. He's the head of the leader. He's the leader. The buck stops with the president, bro. The buck stops with the president. And he's the leader, right? So he's responsible. Is he not? In some way he is. Of course he is. Come on, man. People that say he's not responsible are just living in La La Land. The buck stops with the president. That's it.